I recently switched from a Windows laptop to a MacBook, and there were a lot of reasons for it, but I just want to make a review on my experience of using a MacBook Pro for the last 3 months. It was a pretty big change from my typical Windows laptops, and I've used Windows laptops since I was maybe like 16, and I've never bought a MacBook before, personally speaking. Whenever I used the MacBook, it was on my mom's or the school gave me one. But now I bought my own because I wanted to be more productive. I kind of want something for all-day battery. I know MacBooks are supposed to be pretty good at battery life, pretty good productivity. So that's why I bought a MacBook. And overall, I want to talk about my experience using it for 3 months. So as I list the exact spec laptop I have an M4 Pro MacBook Pro with a 14-inch screen, 24 gigabytes of RAM, and then 1 terabyte of hard drive storage. That's my configuration for this laptop. Now, I want to talk about what I specifically use it for. I mostly use it for productivity and video editing. Those are the main 2 things, and the main reason I got this specific variant of the laptop is because I wanted to video edit, and I wanted an M4 Pro, not an M4, because I think an M4 Pro would benefit me editing 4K. So yeah, when I upgraded my MacBook, I got an M4 Pro because of that reason. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the laptop itself. First off, let's talk about the weight. I think this is actually not as heavy as I thought it could be, but it's pretty hefty, about 3.5 pounds. It's no means a light laptop, but considering what it can do, it could be heavier. It's an aluminum chassis, which is really, really solid. It's very smooth to the touch. I was kind of scared it might be like sharp to the edge, but it's not. It's pretty chamfered. Really smooth, like a rectangular design, but with rounded corners. It's just an overall very simple, boxy look. Honestly, it's kind of reminiscent of those old white Macs in a way, but with metal instead of the plastic. I do really like the design of the laptop in terms of how it looks and how it feels. It's very rigid and just really, really nice to look at, let's be honest. Let's talk about the display. It's a 3024 1964 XDR display. XDR is just basically super high dynamic range. That's what Apple likes to say it is. In other words, it's a high resolution, really, really nice looking display. I mean, God, the color reproduction is amazing. I'm not sure about color accuracy again. And even as an amateur video editor for all the YouTube videos I do, I don't really know much about color accuracy. We could talk about specific RGB, like how color accurate it is. But let's be honest, if you really needed a more color accurate display, you can always go buy one. But for most things, this is pretty good. And I don't think you'd have to ever adjust it. It has very pleasant colors overall. There's also true tone display. Personally, I have that on just because I kind of like the way it looks. It's more of a satisfaction thing and not really a color accurate thing. But I think anyone who buys an Apple product at this point, Apple doesn't really care about professionals in terms of what they need, but more about what they think they might like. And the truth is, I do like the way the True Tone display looks, and I think it looks pretty great. I'll talk about the notch for a second. That was one of the first things I wanted to think about when I moved to this laptop. My old laptop did not have a notch. No other laptop, I think, in the Windows marketplace, at least on the top of my head, has a notch like the Apple displays. And honestly, like the phone, it kind of goes away after a while using it. It's not the biggest deal. It's just kind of weird that it has one. You could just put a black bar and I would have been okay with it. But I guess then it's nice to have the extra wheel estate that you can instead of having more bezel. So I'm not really exactly a huge fan of the notch. Neither am I a huge hater of it. It's there and it's fine. It doesn't really affect me at all. Let's talk about the cameras that are in the notch and whatever. There is a desk view mode that is just basically looks like shit. I know it's supposed to show like how your desk view looks, and I'm gonna be honest, there is no reason in the world I would ever use this. I would just rather angle the laptop itself to use a desk view mode. I know a lot of people were talking about how cool it is. It's kind of crazy it can do that, yeah, but it kind of looks like shit, so I'd rather just not use it, and I'd rather just angle it. If not, you can now use your iPhone as a webcam as well, so just do that. Don't know what I would use it for, personally speaking, but I know if you find yourself using it, cool. However, the normal camera itself is serviceable. So is the microphone, and this is a sound test of what it should sound like and look like. Hey guys, this is the built-in mic on the M4 Pro MacBook Pro. This is how it sounds like. There's a PC running in the background, so it may not be the most best sounding, but this is what a normal sounding place would be like. So if you can hear me fine, that's probably good enough for most people, to be 100% honest. I think the webcam quality is okay. It's not great, but you know, it's serviceable for what you want to do. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about the 120 hertz screen, which I'm surprised is actually on a MacBook Pro, because back in the day, again, I used to use the original MacBook. I didn't even think they would need a reason for a 120 hertz screen, considering most of the gaming laptops I use only had high refresh rate screens. because it was, you know, it was pleasant for video gaming. However, on a MacBook, you're not video gaming. I didn't really think you needed 120 hertz, but I'm so glad it is here. So I'm very, very happy. And even with the 120 hertz screen, and surprisingly, it doesn't really drain the battery that much. Even with the 120 hertz, I've not noticed like a huge drain in battery. So it's really nice to have this like consistency in terms of 120 hertz across Apple products. I really, really like it. Another thing I need to talk about is the screen itself, is the Nano-texture display. This is a specific option I bought with this display. When I researched this laptop a lot of people are saying, you gotta get a Nano-texture display. You gotta get the Nano-texture display. You have to get the Nano-texture display. They're right. It is really, really good. The Nano-texture display is next level in terms of anti-glare. It is so nice to have compared to not having it. Obviously, all the laptops I used beforehand had glossy-ish screens. They weren't great, especially in the sunlight, or whether there was a high beaming light within the room you're in. The glare was kind of annoying to deal with. You would have to angle your laptop properly. This laptop, I've had absolutely zero problem with light beaming off of it. You can't even tell the light in this room. I'm just gonna show you the light off the screen. Like, look at how diffused that light is. This is at the brightest light, by the way. This is the brightest the iPhone light is. And it's very diffused from afar like this. Like, look at how diffused it is. It's kind of crazy how nice the Nano-texture display is, because even though it's like completely against the screen, it's really viewable still. Really, really insane what they did with this display. $150 is still not cheap by any means necessary. The main reason that I was kind of scared to upgrade to that display was because I thought if it's glossy, at least it's high texture, it's a high resolution display. I thought maybe, you know, the way they would have done on the glass and done this Nano-texture thing, it might have like destroyed the clarity. That's not the case whatsoever. And this Nano-texture display did not do anything to it, so I feel like it's still worth getting, even if there is a slight sacrifice of how high definition it is. It doesn't look like there is to me. It still looks super high definition. Because in the moments that you are using this outside, or you're using this where there's a light hitting directly at your screen, I've never had to actually move the screen itself, so it's really nice. It's $150. I do think it's worth it. However, again, it's depending on how much you really value that. I think it's really worth getting if you are gonna think, oh yeah, you're gonna get this laptop and you're already spending this much money, you might as well get that. Touch ID is back only on the laptops and not on the phone. I find it's kind of weird that the laptops that have way more space, and even though the laptops have a notch, they don't have the Face ID technology. They just rather go with the Touch ID, which is insanely fast and honestly really, really good, and something I wish that Windows was doing a lot better. I use Windows Hello. It's not bad, but Touch ID is a lot nicer, especially considering how fast it is to boot. So about the keyboards and the trackpad, obviously. The keyboard is solid. It's a very nice keyboard. It's tactile. I feel like typing on it is super nice, but however, it's not very mushy. It's a very tactile feeling keyboard. Best way to put it is that it doesn't have a ton of travel distance. It's very short. It's very precise. I've never really had a problem typing on this keyboard. However, I think the Asus laptop I used before had a nicer keyboard. This is a fine laptop keyboard. It's a really solid one. However, is it gonna win any awards in my opinion? No. But I'm not complaining about this keyboard, absolutely zero. No, it's a solid keyboard. It even has a backlight. However, I don't really notice it until it actually just randomly shows up. Like, it is on right now. I don't know why it's on right now, but I mean, it is, and I can turn it off if I want to, but you have to play with settings and stuff. It's kind of weird that it comes on by itself and there's no actual button on the screen itself to do it. You kind of have to go to your settings to do it. That's a little bit weird. There's no keyboard shortcut for the keyboard lighting, but it's a small sacrifice, I guess. It's not really a big deal. Best keyboard I've ever used in the laptop. Windows can try to emulate it as much as it can, but I think Apple just does a good job of it. It's the nicest feeling. It's the smoothest feeling. I mean, is it made of glass? You know what's made of glass when you touch it. Tracking on it is super nice. All the specific trackpad like shortcuts there are, they're done so easily on the MacBook. It's kind of sad that Windows just can't do it as well as Apple. Talk about the speakers, and similarly to the trackpad, also the best laptop I've ever used. And the speakers on this are insane. They have so much clarity. They have bass. They have treble. They have a huge dynamic range. You can make out the different instruments with the speakers, which I can't really say about most other laptop speakers, even my phone speakers, to be 100% honest. They do have huge grills on the side of the laptop itself for the speakers, so it makes sense to why how big those speakers are. But I'm surprised every time when I turn on the laptop speakers how beautiful the sound comes out from this laptop. I mean, it might as well just be a real speaker that I could buy because there's so much clarity, bass, and just instrument differentiation is just huge on these laptop speakers, and to be honest, they just sound amazing. The one thing that Apple definitely needs to still work on is their I/O, but I don't think they're ever gonna change that because it's Apple. I mean, I'm lucky that we still have a headphone jack on something Apple wants to give out nowadays, and this still has a headphone jack. The I/O is pretty simple on this, that I don't even have to really think that too hard of it. It's one MagSafe port, 3 USB-C ports, 1 headphone jack, 1 HDMI port, and 1 SD card slot. Yeah, I was right. That is literally it. Very limited I/O. I'm not a big fan of having a lack of USB-A because I had to buy dongles to use USB-C and USB-A. It's annoying. I mean, I'm glad there's an SD card slot at least. That's like the bare minimum now for a huge product like this to have an SD card slot. It's huge. Because I mean, it makes sense though. It is the MacBook Pro. You need an SD card slot because if you're buying an MacBook Pro, there's a good chance of doing things with video editing, and you need an SD card for that. The one thing I want to talk about, and the last thing I want to talk about, is specifically this color that I bought, which is the space gray, I believe. There's either the silver or the space gray, which I got. And then obviously, I like the space gray because it looks sick as hell. I love like this weird, nice blacked out version of the laptop. It's cool. It's the special color. However, it's also the worst color to choose. The reason for that is because of how dirty this laptop gets. You can already see just right here how dirty this laptop's gotten, and I take a pretty decent care of my laptops. It just is a fingerprint magnet. It collects dirt and dust really easily without you wanting to. This laptop won't stay clean. So if you're a germ freak by any means, and you really just want your laptop to look as good as it possibly can all the time, get the silver one. However, if you're still like me and just like, damn, that space gray does look really cool, be my guest. The space gray is still a really cool color, even if it is the worst color to get. Now, let's talk about the performance. We talked about it earlier. We had with an M4 Pro MacBook Pro, we have 24 gigabytes of RAM. It's arguably a very powerful machine. And the main thing that I kind of judge this is that obviously it goes through all my productivity really well. And for me as a video editor, the performance has been insane. I very rarely have buffering issues in Final Cut Pro, and I'm talking about editing a 40-minute 4K video, just like cutting through. And for the most part, it didn't really buffer that much. And the thing is, these are like really big file sizes, and they're handling it like a champ. Especially when I edit shorter videos, there's absolutely zero buffering. When I edit longer videos, there doesn't be some like very minuscule buffering, like some, you know, it's fair. They're huge clips, they're huge files. I can't expect it to run it like complete butter. This is not the most expensive MacBook Pro by any means, but it's a very solid clip. And for me, as a guy who just makes videos for fun and makes videos for my friends and family, the M4 Pro chip is really nice. It's fast, and for a lot of reasons, it's super productive. It gets through any work I have to do in CS reliably. I never really have to worry about it freezing on Chrome. It does that fine. Coding on it has been almost instantaneously. And again, editing on this, I literally exported a 3-minute 4K video, and my old laptop really couldn't handle 4K that well. But now that this one is an M4 Pro, and this literally handles a 3-minute 4K video and exports it within a minute. That's pretty crazy considering, you know, I'm using an old laptop. I'm even using my own desktop. I get the same speeds on my full ass desktop with a 1080p clip, but the MacBook does it with 4K, and it does it out faster. So that's a little bit, it's pretty crazy. With 24 gigs of RAM, I have absolutely zero issues in terms of memory. I've never run out of storage. I think the only times that apps have crashed has been app bugging, not because there's too much memory, not because I open too many things. That's never really happened to me. What I really like about the performance of it is that if you have an iPhone or AirPods, the MacBook syncs perfectly with these. It is beautiful, the integration. AirPods, if I'm just watching a video on my phone and I end up, oh, there's a video on my laptop I really want to watch, it just instantly moves over. That's awesome. I know it's the same thing with iPads and iPhones, but I mean, it's just, you can't lie. The iCloud experience is beautiful, as well as the fact that I can actually open my phone while it's charging on my laptop. So if I need to answer a text, or if I just want to doom scroll on TikTok using my phone, but my phone's over there all the way on the other side of my room charging, I can do that here. But let's talk about battery, and that's a really big thing of why I wanted to switch to a MacBook, is because I used to use a gaming laptop. And we recently talked about my other gaming laptop. That gaming laptop had like 3 to 4 hours max. as a battery, and that was like horrible. Not exactly impressive for a laptop. However, on the MacBook Pro, I am impressed with the battery on this. This is a beautiful, it's literally the king of productivity, and the more I've been using it, I just love the battery on this. I think I can get through a full day with 50% left in the tank. And that's me using it in class, touching, downloading shit. Today, I opened this up, I edited 2 videos, 4K videos. Yes, they were only like a minute long each, but I edited both of them. And I was browsing the internet, I was taking clips and downloading clips for about half an hour, and I lost 4% battery. That is insane. Out of the world, crazy battery life. I know it's rated for 14 hours of video browsing and then 22 hours of video streaming. In my experience, that pretty much checks out. Especially, my stress test is basically going from 100 to 0 on this using Final Cut Pro. I was editing for 4 hours straight, 4K video, and the laptop was at 10%. The MacBooks are just impressive in terms of performance and technology. To be 100% honest, I think the MacBook Pro is the best product Apple makes other than the AirPods. This is a crazy step up from what I used to have. So yeah, I'm just gonna say that battery life is impressive. I am also using a 96-watt charger for this, for the MagSafe. And I know a lot of people are gonna talk about they don't like MagSafe. I actually like MagSafe. I think MagSafe is really cool because at least it gives you the option to use MagSafe or USB-C. So although I would never really want to charge my laptop using USB-C, I like the option that there's another cable I can use, the universal USB-C, to charge my laptop, and it's also really, really fast. I would say I can get my full laptop charged in about an hour and a half at most. But most, I think it's about an hour. At least based on my mental thinking, I think it's about an hour. But the fact that it lasts way longer than that is more impressive to me. Especially again, you can kind of also use this as like a power bank. If you really want to. Sometimes when I was like, when I was going to work, I would plug in a cable into this and charge my iPhone, and I'd still it would basically barely affect the battery of the laptop itself, and my phone would be charged. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is this. I didn't really actually make this in any of my videos yet, but I'm talking about price, because it's a very important part, obviously. And the price is fucking ridiculous. The price for this configuration, with the 96-watt charger, which is $20 extra, the Nano-texture display, the M4 Pro with 1 terabyte of SSD, is $2,396 USD before tax. What the actual fuck? That makes no sense for what it should be. It is insanely expensive. The way I think about it, at least, the very minimum, is that at least if you're gonna buy something that's very expensive, it better be damn good. The truth is, it is very good. It is still absurdly overpriced. It's crazy to think that Apple releases one of the most expensive laptops for no reason, and at the same time makes the best bang for your buck laptop, the MacBook Air. M4 MacBook Air is so much better priced. The MacBook Air base model with 16 gigabytes of RAM is $1,000. That is a way better deal than this. And that's the main reason this review is titled that. Basically, if you're not doing video editing, if you're not doing photo editing, you're not doing any productive things on it, actual hardware tax, then why the fuck would you get this MacBook Pro? There is literally no reason I can recommend my friend to get a MacBook Pro over the MacBook Air unless he did video editing. And even then, the base model M4 isn't that much horrible than the M4 Pro. Yeah, I think you could even edit some 4K on it. Would it be great? It'd be a little bit slower for sure. And the main reason that I bought this is because of thermals. And that's another thing that I want to talk about a little bit. But it's not really that important in terms of for the average user, because unless it's a very big problem, I wouldn't really talk about thermals. But the only reason I really bought this is because the M4 MacBook Pro has better thermals. There is a fan built in. There are vents on the side to help with the cooling of this laptop. Although it never really got super hot in my experience of using it so far. Even with the 4K editing, it wasn't like insane to the touch hot like a Razer Blade has gotten me in the past with gaming. This has definitely gotten warm, but nothing really hot, nothing to really worry about. So that kind of makes me bet the question that how good is this compared to the M4 Air? Probably not that much significantly better in normal use. I think for the average use case, the MacBook Air is just a better laptop. The only real big trade-off you're taking away from your average day-to-day use is the fact that it doesn't have a 120 hertz screen, probably. And I think honestly, it probably has a better battery because it's a less powerful processor. For the average person, the M4 MacBook Air is just better. There is really no reason to get the M4 Pro unless, again, the specific hardware taxing things you want to do require a better processor, require more cooling. Then you have to get an M4 Pro or M4 MacBook Pro. Actually, I don't understand the point. Apple also makes an M4 MacBook Pro, but I feel like if you're gonna get a MacBook Pro, you get the M4 Pro MacBook Pro, because you might as well just get the M4 MacBook Air for a lot cheaper, because they have the same chip inside. Yes, this one has 120 hertz screen, but there's actually no interior difference in terms of what's under the hood. So you're either going on the extreme of buying this specific laptop with the MacBook Pro or the M4 and MacBook Air, and honestly, the MacBook Air is looking like a lot better of a bargain. And this is my conclusion. This is an amazing laptop. I don't regret getting it at all. It really is just the best laptop I've used in a long, long time. However, is it cheap by any means necessary? No. Are there a lot better alternatives? Yes. Especially if you look in Windows, there are definitely a lot cheaper options. If you need a MacBook Pro, if you need the best MacBook there is possible, this is the best MacBook you could probably get for a not insanely expensive price, but it's still an insanely expensive price. However, again, the M4 MacBook Air exists, and I'd rather just get that if you're just a normal person. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and like and follow for more. Peace.